Why
So-
Boston College? Like how many?
Big jump.
Were you an offer guy coming out of high school?
Yeah, so I knew, when you're coming up, you never expect you're going to play in the NFL. I think for me, it was always, what's the next logical step for me? So when you're in grade school, you want to play on. So it was 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th.
Yeah.
So when you move up to 5th grade, you're on the 5th and 6th team. You want to play on that team, and then as a 6th grader, you play, and then on 7th grade, you go back in the same situation, and then you get to high school. We had a freshman team, a JV team, and a varsity team. So my goal in high school was to play on the varsity team as a junior.
Which is a crazy.
It's crazy. We just had, I went to a private a Catholic Jesuit all boys school in Cincinnati. That's kind of one of the reasons I went to BC. But there's 1,600 boys, and we probably had, 300 to 400 kids in the football program.
Oh, yeah.
shit.
You
It
have
was
a powerhouse.
huge.
300 to 400.
Yeah.
So your school is one of the reasons why Ohio is looked at as such a big.
Yeah, we were Southwest
Football
Ohio,
state.
so we had like 135, 140 kids on the freshman team. The JV team was just sophomores. And then that was probably 70, 80 kids. And then on the varsity team, it was like 140 kids again. So those numbers get big quick. I went to BC because academically it was really strong. That was one thing that my parents talked to me a lot about, was go somewhere that you wouldn't be able to get into without football. So I wasn't getting into Boston College. I looked at Stanford, wasn't getting in there. Duke and then Virginia were the schools that I was looking at. And I was like, I can't get in to any of these schools without football. And I'm like, if I can get a scholarship to one of these schools, I got an opportunity to get a 5-year education, a master's for free, and go play football. So that's kind of what you're thinking coming out. And Tom O'Brien was a St. Xavier guy. That's where I went to high school. He went to St. Xavier, and then he ended up coaching at Boston College and started pulling kids out of the high school to go play football at Boston College. So we probably had a kid there for, I don't know, 20 years in a row from the high school, just overlapping. And the guys that went to school up there had a ton of success. A lot of them were team captains. A lot of them played really well. And it was how that program was run was very similar to how the program was run in Cincinnati at St. Xavier High School, of just toughness, playing hard, doing the right thing. We didn't always have the best athletes, but we played really well as a team. And when I was being recruited, Matt Ryan was there. So they got as high as number 2. They beat Virginia Tech and Blacksburg on that pass across the field from Matt. I think Andre Callender caught that ball, and there was just a ton of hype around them when I was being recruited. And it was good academically. It was outside of Boston. I knew guys that were there. It was a Jesuit school, just like my high school, and they were playing really, really good football at the time. So
Were you an overachiever? Like, were you a beast in high school as well? Like, are any guys in that school, that 300 to 400, are there any freshmen or guys playing varsity?
No. So, I mean, my freshman year, I didn't play a whole lot. We had so since the team was so big, we had an A team and a B team. So the A team would play like on a Wednesday, and the B team would play on a Thursday. So we'd play the other.
This is freshman
team, yeah.
So when did the JV team
nuts.
play then?
They played
yeah.
on I think on Saturdays.
No
So the
shit.
varsity team played Friday nights, and then we played Saturdays typically, I think is what happened. So freshmen don't play on varsity typically. I don't know the last time it's happened. Occasionally you'll get like 2 or 3 sophomores play varsity, but they got to be dudes.
Yeah.
But I would say that 85% of guys aren't on the varsity team until they're juniors. So
Yeah, so that's why your goal was varsity
Yeah.
as a junior.
yeah, I mean,
I'm thinking you, like, if you had the bug, if you had this kind of drive, the way everyone sees and talks about, this kid must have been a freshman on varsity. But the school
yeah.
you're at seems like an absolute powerhouse.
Yeah, and I loved the game of football. I was small. So my freshman year, I played outside linebacker. My sophomore year, they moved me to tight end because the backers that we had, they were bigger than me. They're just better.
Mm-hmm.
So my sophomore year, those guys all played backer, and then I played tight end. And then my
Were
junior
you catching
year,
tutties?
I was a good blocker.
Yeah.
Hell
Run
yeah.
school,
Hell
run
yeah.
football
I'll
team.
tell you what, I'm so glad I didn't have to play offense because all formations and trades and shifts, you play Mike backer, you just line up in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
You don't got to go anywhere.
Yeah,
so,
but you're also calling out all those trades, formations, and shit.
yeah, but offensive
being modest.
He's a
formations.
tendency guy.
There was a
Yeah.
guy named Ryan Long. He played right tackle, and he played tight end in the year before, and then I think in like training camp, and then they moved me to tight end and then moved him to tackle. So he knew all the formations. So I'd line up next to him in the huddle. They call the play. I'm like, hey, where do I line up?
No shit.
So Ryan Long was like my life support playing tight end, and then I switched back to linebacker as a junior, and then I played like a hybrid safety as a senior.
Okay, so as a junior on varsity, Were you starting at that point?
I did, yeah.
Okay, that's when there was.
So I started to grow. I started to grow a little bit. I got a little bigger.
How big were you going into BC?
Oh man. So I played my senior year at like 212. And then I got to BC, I was probably like 218. So I played, I don't know, 218, 220 as a freshman, and then like 228 as a sophomore. And then as a junior, I played at like 231, 232.
Just a thick unit.
When did you know in college that, hey, I might have something, I might have a future in the NFL?
So I think, so in college, it was interesting because Mark Herzlich, you guys remember him?
Monster.
Yeah. So Mark Herzlich was a junior. I went to spring game. He was going into his, what was it?
Because he got done with his junior year, right? He was like a first round potential
That's
pick.
Right.
The cancer thing happened.
Yeah.
He fought his way, sat out a year, or
fought
his way back.
I go to spring ball going when I'm a senior. Mark's going to be he's going to be a senior in college. So it's his spring ball before his senior year. And they'd been telling me like, Mark's got like a low back hamstring thing. He's probably not going to play a lot in the spring game. I was bummed because I wanted to watch him play. So he goes and plays a couple snaps, comes out. And then like a couple weeks later, he's got Ewing sarcoma bone cancer. So
no shit.
I get there. I get to school. Mark's out the whole year. Essentially, he redshirted as he was dealing with cancer. I don't know how the guy did it. He was there all the time, worked out every day, was still big and strong, was in all the meetings. He was fantastic as a young guy to come in.
While these guys fighting cancer.
He had gone through chemo, radiation, everything. But he was a great older guy to have at BC as a freshman. He wasn't playing, so there was like no stress of, he was dealing with cancer, obviously, but
He's no stress
yeah,
playing.
yeah.
Hey,
sick. Yeah, good
but
job.
that is a football thing to say.
Yeah,
though.
so
like the stress of playing is crazy.
So then Mark's out. Mike McLaughlin was our Mike linebacker. He's like the prototype from Massachusetts. He had the cowboy collar, neck roll. He had the little bull ring.
Yeah.
He wore the diaper chin strap. No, he didn't. He had a diaper chin strap, but then he switched over to the padded one. But he was like the prototype.
Yeah.
He was coming back from an Achilles, so he was going to miss the first couple games of the season. And then I don't know, a week or two in the training camp, our starting Mike backer, Will Compton, gets like a shoulder stinger. So I'm over with the freshman doing inside run, get my teeth kicked in, and they just needed a Mike backer. So they called me over, and I had to go over as like little skinny 220-pound Luke and play against the older guys and just get my teeth kicked in.
No shit.
I was like, this is awful. And my coach came up to me after that period, and he's like, I was pretty terrible. You got to figure it out because you're going to play week 1 because we don't have anybody else. I was like, what about this guy? And he's like, well, that guy got popped for a drug test, so he can't play either. So I go to
you're looking at the coach saying, hey, you're being told you're going to play week 1, but you're like, hey, what about that guy?
And I'm like,
yeah, I'm like, that's where your confidence level is at.
I'm like, my confidence is 0.
Yeah.
So Herzlich's out, Mac's out, Will Compton gets hurt, guy gets popped for a drug test. And then before you know it, your top 4 guys are out. And so there's really no one left. So like, hey, week 1, you're just going to have to figure it out. So the first couple games of the season are disaster. Go down to Clemson. We play in Death Valley against CJ Spiller, and that.
Yeah. They had the DNs at the time.
They had Daquan Bowers, and they had another. They had
another cat.
They had another cat.
JP's back there gritting his teeth. JP's a South Carolina guy. He hates Clemson.
Yeah,
hates him. Every time they're mentioned, they have to be trash talked.
Yeah. So, but then you make a couple plays in those games. You're like, I got a chance. And then I remember my sophomore year was when I was like, okay. You played in Clemson against, CJ Spiller. And then you just start going through the guys that you play against. You're like, these guys are all getting drafted in the NFL. Like, this might actually be an opportunity for me. So it's just interesting how you go from high school, you want to play on the varsity team, to as a freshman, like I don't really have a choice. You get in there and play. And then you're like, man, this is fun. I'm starting to have some success. And then you fast forward, the next thing you look forward to is like, I love the game of football. I've had a ton of fun. I'd love to keep playing this as long as I can. So you kind of look back as probably 3/4 of the way through my sophomore year, you look back and you're like, these are the guys that I played against. This has been their career in the NFL. Like, maybe I got a chance.
So there wasn't like a specific play in mind that you made a big play and you're like, oh shit, okay, I can do this. It was a reflection period for you.
Yeah.
That you're to look back and kind of be like, all right, all these guys are playing in the NFL. This means I can do X, Y, and Z as well.
Yeah. I just think you look at it and you're like, I've played in like big games. We played at Clemson, we played at Florida State, we played at Notre Dame, and you're like, these are the teams and the situations that you grew up watching, and now you get a chance to be in them. And it's something I always tell guys is like, you need to enjoy the game because when it's gone, it's gone. So when I was playing, so laser focused on football in the process that you don't ever take a second to really look back and say, damn, like that was pretty cool, you know?
Yeah.
Because your sophomore and junior year, correct me if I'm wrong, but you led the NCAA in tackles, yeah?
Yeah, we were on the field a lot.
He said, yeah, we were on
the field a lot. We kind of really didn't have a choice. You know, you played 80, 90 snaps, like you got more opportunities, especially, and you know, the other thing too is like we weren't ahead a lot late. So you know what happens at the end of the game, their team's running 4 minutes, they're going to run the ball, and they got
run it right at you.
They got 5 or 6 run plays, and they're going to run power, they're going to run lead, and they're going to run stretch. It's like perfect. All right, here we go.
Buddy, every time you'd see a stat sheet on league leaders, and he's sitting there every week averaging like 15 tackles a game.
Mm-hmm. That's
I'm thinking, who is this Luke Kuechly guy from Boston?
He must be on the field a lot.
Yeah.
He must got a lot.
That's like the excuse the competitor makes, like, oh, they got to fucking be on the field.
Well, you know what's funny is you look at all those things, and like people are lying if they don't look at that stuff, right? So then I went and looked at it one time, and it had number of snaps played, and it was like we had a gazillion, and then you go look at like Alabama, the guy like Dante Hightower was at Alabama. He had like half the amount of snaps played that we did. And
Chris
I was like,
Borland at Wisconsin.
Chris Borland had 1 million.
He was a dog. What your rookie year is 2013?
2012.
2012
That
was
linebacker
rookie
class
year.
was strong.